Okay, we've finished those engine pods off, almost identical. Right, the next bit though is kind of tricky because you've got to get those onto the wing and get everything aligned so it draws the wing out straight. When you're making that groove in the bottom, the shape, the rough shape of the wing, it doesn't really matter that it isn't absolutely exactly the profile. In fact, you'd never get it because you have to slide it over the wing. As I was saying, we've got to use lightweight filler for the gaps that we leave. But anyway, this is the bit that it gets kind of tricky. So we take off the top caps. You'll just have to shave these away until you're happy with it. So first job is to slide them on like that, and as you can see there's a fair old space there. Just position them. As you can see, they slide on fairly easy, but you just have to whittle away until you get it about right. Now obviously these have to be square together, so we get our long ruler and put them across just to make sure they are actually square with each other. Next task is to find the middle point of the wing. So we measure off, it's 64 inches span, so we need to draw a midline at the 32 inch point. Now up on the plan I realise I'm mixing imperial and metric measurements here. It's 11.5 centimetres from the centre line of the wing to the midline of the engine pod. So from the midline we go for 11.5 centimetres and just make sure, in fact I'll just bring you over here to see this. A bit tricky to get position right. Okay, so now we want to go to the midpoint of the engine pod, 11.5 centimetres, and the midpoint there, 11.5 centimetres, just about right there. Let's take it out a little bit. Right, there it is. Now take your pen and just draw around them, but don't draw all the way yet because there's still a bit of a lining to do. Just as long as we get that position right. Now this is where it's tricky. So we know that they're square with each other, but we don't know that they're square to the span of the wing. So we flip it over and stand it on its engine bays like that. So we definitely know that they're square with each other. Can you see that? Just bring it back a bit. Right. So now the next task is to make sure that that is square. Let's get that positioned right. Square along the wing. So we measure the tip to the bench, which is 4 centimetres on that one, and on that one it's 4.5 centimetres to that one. So we need it to go down a bit on that one, which we can't do, so we'll bring this one up a bit. Be it there. We've now got 4.5 centimetres on that one. Just that's about 4.2. So we need to go back down again, just a touch. This is all very important stuff really, because you don't want the engines drawing off to one side. I imagine I'm blanking your view, is it? Right, I've got about 4.3 on there and 4.4 on there. It doesn't have to be that critical, but you do need to try to get it as accurate as you can. That was a lot. That was a big lump. Right, there it is at 4 point, and back up to 4.4. And 4.3. So just tap that. Now and again, once we get this lined up, we'll draw around it so we have it accurate every time then. 4.3. 4.3. So that'll do it there. Now we draw around that engine pod there, all the way. I mean, I suppose you could space them out a little more if you were going to go for bigger props, but I really wouldn't, because the further apart they are, the more effect they'll have as to torque steer if an engine was to fail. Right, so that's it now in its mid position. The engine bays are absolutely flush to the 90 degrees to the wing. Now you've marked them, you'll be able to get them back to the exact same position, and that pretty much is it. Also, you notice that I've actually forgotten. Oh, let's have me back on eye to eye terms. Yeah, I haven't got the leads in for the supply leads in for the speed controllers. So what I'll do is I'll just put some little slices in and stick in some heavier cable that'll stand up to probably about 18 amps or so, and that will also run down through the pedestal. There's another part to fit on here, if I can find it, that piece there, which is up on the plan. That will then stick onto there, and that will be in the light ply. That will stick onto there. It's just so that the load of the wing will then be spread across a greater area, and then there'll also be the stanchions, or whatever we call them, the wing joists or something like that. I just can't find the wing spars. The struts, sorry, struts. Right, so that goes onto there though, and the wing struts will come down into the body. That will be pretty much it done. But I can easily add in the wiring afterwards, and then add in a little bit of a plank over it. But don't be as stupid as me and put the wires in beforehand, because I kind of remembered the servos for the wing and for the engine bays, but I forgot about the supplies for the speedos. Right, also, you don't really need to strip back any of this stuff here to glue these engine plugs on, because they will actually stay put. They're pretty firm there, but if you want to, you can just slice back a little bit so the bottom half will get a decent stick to the wood. But you can see how important that initial 90 degrees to that engine wall and that piece there, because if that remains 90 degrees, it's on the bottom of the wing, so this engine bay here will be 90 degrees to the wing. I would imagine the thrust of the engine will have to come down slightly, but all that can be altered with the engine mounts when we get them sorted out. Right, I think that's about it for now. So the next thing will be sticking those onto the wing. Then I'll do much the same as I did with the pedestal. I'll use the glue to go all over the wood because I won't be adding on any of the paper or any of the shrink film, because it'll be that hard to get it square and smooth without sort of wrinkles, because it is just a completely curved shape, but extremely hard to do. So what I'll do, I'll paint on this stuff which will seal the wood, then I'll rub that down, and because I've done mine in the green cam, I can then add in the green paint all the way around there and hide all of the evils that I've created with the spaces. Right, that'll do for now, and we'll see you next time.